Greetings.
Welcome. Okay, let's call the meeting to order. I don't know what comes next. I believe that we say welcome. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Sarah, would you mind doing a roll call for us, please?
Absolutely. Laura Greenlee Karp,
Here.
Sarah Zaradka,
Here.
Lloyd Graycheck is absent, Dave Andren,
Here.
Ben Hansen is absent, Ingrid Kohler,
Here?
Rachel Lucas, and Cassidy Schwer is absent.
Wonderful. Okay, excuse me. Has everyone had a chance to review the agenda? And is there anything that you want to change? Nope.
I make a motion to adopt this month's agenda.
I second.
Wonderful. Any discussion? Great. Okay, now we're going to move on to the approval of the minutes. Same,
Can do old minutes.
oh, sorry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. I'll get this. I will get it. Okay, but the next one is the approval of the minutes.
Yeah. But you should, normally we do last month's agenda.
Isn't that what we just approved?
We just approved this
I meant to,
agenda.
I meant to say, do we approve last month's agenda?
I make a motion
I'll second that.
for last.
Great. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Wonderful. Now we can move to the approval of the minutes? Yes. Okay, great. That's what I meant to ask. Do the minutes look okay to everybody? Is there anything that need to be amended or pulled out?
I make a motion to approve the agenda for February 26th meeting.
I'm talking about the approval of the minutes
Yeah.
for the January 22nd.
January, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we just did that.
No, we
The
didn't.
agenda.
So do I say motion to approve?
Yes.
We accidentally approved this month's agenda before we approved
Last.
last month's. So now we're approving the minutes from last month.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from January 22nd's meeting.
Yes. I
And
Perfect. Any discussion? All those in favor?
aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Members of the public? Nobody? Wonderful. So we can move right into commission business. Let's start with A, the HGA final document approval.
Okay, so from our last meeting, when Trig here was here from HGA, he made the couple of updates that were requested, including adding more information on the artificial turf, and made a couple of changes to some spelling errors. The final document was provided to you in your packet, and so we just need a formal recommendation from the commission to bring this to council next week on March 4th.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the HGA document, the final McKnight Field plans and city plan, and recommend it to the city council.
I'll second that.
Great. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Great.
Yay!
Perfect.
Was that wording fine?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, the second item is the overview of the Park and Recreation Commission. Is this the,
This is what you had requested, so if there's nothing prepared for today, that's fine.
yeah.
We can move it to next meeting.
So I'm just gonna front load the idea, ask if the commission would be okay with that, and then we can follow up after.
Wonderful.
So for the overview of the Park and Rec Commission, I thought that it might be a good idea for us to add a brief segment at the top of each of our meeting, recapping what we have previously worked on or most recently are working on, and what our next, few goal items are going to be. I think sometimes it is in the information from the last meeting, but it also isn't always super clear in a tangible way, and I'd like to have that at the like as a part of our packet.
Like a 5-minute review?
Yes.
Yeah, review
Yep.
and statement of kind of what our next steps are.
Yeah, kind of like a tone set of like, okay, this is what we have been working on. This is where we're working, like where we're going. So everybody has a shared understanding
Yeah.
if you're here or if you're not here.
I like that. That will provide some clarity. Yeah, I like it.
Okay. And if that's something that's okay with the commission, that's something that Sarah and I will work on throughout the month. I'll send the document to her. She'll make sure that it fits what we need it to fit, and then it'll be a part of our agenda.
Yeah.
I don't know if we need to have that be a motion or just like an agreement, like people are okay with that?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I think we can try and see how it goes. I mean, there's nothing wrong with recapping.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, television does it every time you watch it.
Right.
Go to commercial,
right.
you go back down.
Yeah, we will make our own trailer or our,
Yeah,
from the last episode. That's what we will make.
And so it begins.
Yes. Okay. Wonderful. So we'll move forward with that. We'll try it out and we'll see if that helps our smart and agile brains remember month to month what we are working on.
Sure.
Great. Okay, so let's move on to the review of the park assignments.
Yes, so this was requested last meeting. Let's talk about just a touch base since we lost a commissioner last year. We have the addition of Rachel, making sure that folks are still okay with the parks that they were assigned to as a liaison. And so I included what we had from last year, and we can just either say if we're okay with keeping the same parks, if we'd like to switch around, if there's new or different expectations this year for liaisons, kind of how that's going to look moving forward.
Okay. So it looks like the open parks without representatives right now are gonna be Northwood, Rotary, Tower.
Rotary's
Yeah, I was wondering about Rotary. It looks like.
Rotary's
any
not
because
ours.
We can't plan anything on it.
Great, so we're just gonna let that go. So then we are going to, so it's gonna be Northwood.
I was assigned Northwood and
Yes.
Tower.
Okay, perfect. Northwood,
That needs to change, though.
no, I just wanna make sure that I know, and veterans is ours that we oversee.
No, we don't.
That was a question.
We don't oversee, there is a committee for that, so we
Great.
don't need to oversee that.
Wonderful. So really, it's Northwood and Tower, and Rachel, you were assigned those parks. Okay.
Are there any other changes that are requested? Does anybody else want to change parks, have other ideas or thoughts, or?
Well, with my two parks that I share with Lloyd, I have, we don't talk a lot either, but with that said, I'm just wondering how we should be foreseeing it. For instance, I have not, in the 13th months that I've been here, I have not had any meetings at all with the task force at Southwood. So like today, I walked through the park, just kind of looking at things that have been done and stuff like that. So without any guidance from them, it's hard to bring anything forward to the park commission for recommendations other than what I see. Not knowing if we have master naturalists that are working on any kind of project or what they have laid out. So I think we need to somehow have better understanding what we want to do with that park, because that is really a heavy used park. There's a lot of dog walkers, just a lot of naturalists that walk through there. So I need something from the park commission to say, yeah, we'll just leave everything up to a task force, or do you want us, Lloyd and I, to go into a different direction for overseeing some of the stuff that will need some funding and stuff? I mean, I know some of it comes under general maintenance, like we still have quite a bit of, and I'll bring that up in my reports, but there's certain areas that need to be addressed throughout that park, so.
So I know that the city reached out to the task force. You all sent an email to them, Do you want to recap what that email said quickly?
Yeah, so, and they just wrote back, thanks, so there was no questions or anything, feedback back from it, but more or less, we're not going to be taking any sort of improvement or funding requests directly from the task force anymore. They will need to come through the commission, specifically liaison, so Dave and Lloyd, to make any formal requests, which will come back to the Parks Commission, and then we can go through our normal process from there. So they're going to be treated just as any other park or task force would be.
So Dave, my question to you is, would you be able to talk with Lloyd and maybe like start getting on the task force agenda? And if that's too much work, then maybe ask the commission if there's someone else who might want to.
I don't think they're meeting.
Oh, can I add, so they aren't actively meeting right now.
I don't, yeah. they're-
They reached out to me after your email just to ask for some clarification. They're not actively meeting now because of Kathy's passing. I believe Dave had back surgery, so they just haven't.
Daryl had.
Daryl had back surgery, so they haven't had a chance to get together and talk. And so I think starting point is, can we get them to resume a meeting? And then, like you were saying, can you and Lloyd be a part of that meeting?
Over the last 13 months, I've reached out to Daryl several times, done the same thing. Like when we talked about the budget last year, they didn't request anything, but that I do know that within the next 10 years, like I mentioned, the observation deck will probably have to be rebuilt. I checked that out today. It's fairly sound, but it needs some work around it. We have a couple trees that are actually starting to grow underneath the observation deck. The bridge, when you walk across it, still does the oil canning, boom, 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 as you walk across it. I don't know the age of that, but within the next 10 years, we should think about upgrading that.
So, so there's definitely things that we need to address at Southwood.
Yes?
I apologize for cutting you off. Can you finish your thought?
Well, my thought's gonna go, I've said this a lot since I've been on this commission, but my fear has always been this, like what happens if something happens to Kathy Trundle, and it has. And my fear now, hearing that they haven't met in this long, is that it's gonna be really hard for, unless there's a really motivated person that comes forward, because it sounds like the people who've existed have probably been under Kathy's kind of command, because she was such a strong leader at that park, that my question's gonna go back to, we have a nature preserve, we don't have a commission for every park in the city. So how do we, or the city, or does the city need to be more involved? Like, I think we almost need to make a wish list, and you and Lloyd are obviously the most knowledgeable of this, is like, how do we go about managing this park if we don't have a task force? You know, like, how do we
Right.
make sure that the buckthorn doesn't grow back, and that all these things that they've worked so hard to keep out? How do we make sure, because I don't know if other cities have task force for their nature preserve, or if there's, the city's running it, but I think we've needed this for a long time, but Kathy was really just an angel that kind of helped us do everything. But how do we actually bridge that gap? So, not to sound bad, but in case we don't need a task force or we don't have one, how do we actually, because as park commissioners, we can't always be in there being like, all right, Sarah, we need to get the buckthorn, like, the city's going to have to take on some of that. So I think we need to create like here's how to proceed with Southwood, and maybe it includes the improvement plan of like the deck needs to be replaced in 10 years, that, you know, maybe it's going, you and Lloyd meeting and kind of making that list and saying, what is it that the city needs to own? It might be like twice a year, you need to have buckthorn poles, or twice, you know, just so that they can budget that in too, or else it's gonna fall back on volunteers, and like in this scenario, we may not have them to fall back on.
Sarah, do you have guidance around, like, I know Silver Lake has their organization, or their organization, like, how do these relationships work in the city outside of the task force?
Ultimately, it's not, neither of them are official with the
Okay.
city. So we don't oversee what they're doing or anything like that. We just will help subsidize funding,
Got
more or
it.
less. So it's no different than just a random group of residents meeting and saying, hey, we're going to clean up this park. That's how the task force and the Silver Lake Association is essentially.
Okay, so maybe where we need to start is, I do know, so I know Tiffany and Caleb Bryan are actively a part of the task force and have been trying to like move it forward, as some of the other members have had their own situations come up. I feel like we need to do, we need to connect with the people who are actively doing what they can right now. Figure out where they're at, and in an ideal world, how we can partner as a Parks Commission with them. And I agree with you, Sarah, that partnership needs to be more formalized. I feel like the city has gone through a process of formalizing these kind of like historical relationships, and this has kind of pushed us to that place as well. So maybe that is our next step, is we talk to who's a part of it, and then we as a commission or the city provides us guidance on what that formal partnership needs to look like going forward.
I have a question.
Yeah,
What does the task force do,
great question.
or do we not know?
No, we do, we do.
Yeah.
Yep,
You
go
want me to
ahead,
answer?
yep.
Because years ago, I was one of the founders for the task force.
And this is specific for Southwood?
Southwood.
Only
It's
Southwood.
only for Southwood. And it started out, we had several citizens that were going for their master naturalist agenda.
Yep.
And Southwood opened up a big opportunity for them to, what they call the capstone project. A couple of them took on the waterfront, bringing that back so we were not getting a lot of erosion and stuff like that. One took on developing a butterfly garden. Another one took on what we call the oak savanna. So a lot of stuff was taken out of there at that time. Did a lot of volunteers. A lot of the people on the task force volunteered a lot of time, a lot of hours to it. It was part of the task force that, for instance, the observation deck, that was all done by volunteers. Myself being one of them, Terry Furlong. We had a residents from North St. Paul who wanted to give back. But anyway, the task force would meet and say, for this certain area we needed, and we want to keep everything as close to nature as possible, because it is a nature preserve. Throughout the years, they wanted to bring it back to what it would have been, say, 100 years ago. And we would buy certain plants that were native to Minnesota in this area at the time. So we purchased different plants and stuff like that. There's a company up north that, matter of fact, I drove up there like 3 times to get their plantings. So what we would do is get together, schedule like a buckthorn pull, a lot of volunteers, or plan on doing some plantings or stuff like that. Part of it was the park cleanup, those kind of things. But task force would say, okay, we need to kind of clean this area out, or we had a lot of storm damage. How many of us can get in there and do that? I was, like I said, one of the founders of it. I don't remember if Floyd was on the original or not, Dave Nelson, there was quite a few of us. So when we needed something, we would bring it to the Park Commission. We would ask for either funding or help or something. And then the Park Commission would take that on to City Council. Once it made that approval, it was all said and done.
And if I'm remembering correctly, this task force was created when the Parks Commission was significantly less formal.
Right.
Right, so in the years since the task force has been created, there's been a ton of like formality and oversight
Yeah.
and organization put into the Parks Commission. So the task force was formed out of a need of, we don't want this land to go to waste. And now that we have more resources, people, city support, all of those things, it's kind of, it's less on them. They're like our grassroots organization, and now it's like more on us to maintain.
Yep.
And just kind of like figuring out what that formal partnership looks like.
So like, to answer one of your other questions, Minnetonka, for instance, because a couple of us went to Minnetonka years ago, to see how they were handling a couple of their bigger parks and with Buckthorn and the whole bit. But they don't have a task force. They have a city worker who's in charge of trying, their parks are huge, to redo those. So they have a complete plan. They're not relying on volunteers and stuff like what we did. We volunteered, a lot of volunteer work. Now that that's changed over the years, I think as the park commission, that's why I took on Southwood again, is because I know how things used to be. But we used to meet at least once a month to say, hey, this is where I'm at with my capstone project. Can you see, 'cause in 3 months, I'm gonna need to do some plantings. Can we get this purchased, that kind of stuff. I'd like to see that happen again where it doesn't have to be every month that they meet. But if they are meeting, and it doesn't have to be formal with the task force, but at least let the park commission know what their thoughts are. And and a lot of them were actually neighbors around the park. There's a few that didn't live by the park. Kathy is one of them, who brought different ideas in.
Yeah, so I think that's a good summary of how it started and where it was, and now going forward, how can we make all of those things come together?
Could we check with other cities that have nature preserves and see how they're handling it?
Absolutely, that's a great idea.
I love not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Copy and paste.
A
Yep.
lot of them though do have their own paid employee there, so.
And we may not have our own paid employee, but we do have the commission, we have Public Works, and then there is a spot for volunteers there. They just
Yep.
maybe don't have to carry as much as they've been carrying. So to close the loop on all of that, we're gonna check in with the Southwood Task Force members who are having conversations. It doesn't even have to be a formal meeting, see where they're at. We're going to check in with other cities who have nature preserves about just kind of like what that maintenance oversight looks like. And then with those two pieces of information, we're gonna come back at the next meeting, and then we're gonna talk about, next steps.
Right.
Did I miss anything?
Nope.
Okay,
Although, if you're in touch with a couple people on that task force,
yep,
if you don't mind having them contact me,
yep.
and I'm the liaison, so
And they, yeah, they reached out to me because like I know them, but they also know from Sarah's email specifically to reach out to you and Lloyd
Yeah.
about any things, and they know that you are the park liaison. So
yeah.
I can definitely let them know.
Because there, like I said, I just walked through there today and I'm going, okay, I know what this, now report on what the city's been doing. But there's other things, I'm just kind of wondering where the task force is at.
Yep.
As far as how they want to move
And we can
forward.
find all of that out in the next few weeks and bring it back for everybody to have that discussion.
Yeah.
Can I just add 2 points on this? One's a question. Knowing we have 2 representatives on like a Southwood or some of these bigger parks, would we consider having 2 representatives on like Casey? Knowing Rachel lives over there, I don't want to like force
Yep.
volunteer
And
you,
Ben-
but I think sometimes, well, Ben's on it.
Oh, he is, okay, yeah.
But sometimes I think 2 eyes are better than one in those situations. That was my first question. The other thing is I know we have from last year, but I don't mind keeping my parks, but I want to kind of self-nominate myself for McKnight as well, because I've been pretty involved in that planning, and speaking to that park. So as we go and push development, I would, whether we have 3 people or whether Lloyd would want to step to one of my other parks or Dave or whoever, but I would like to be part of McKnight. That would be my only request. And I don't mind keeping all 3, but if I need to swap or whatever, I'm happy to. But just knowing that I'm involved in all those meetings, I know Dave has been too, but
I would say it would be my, I guess, assumption and understanding is that the members of the subcommittee that work directly with HGA will continue to be a part of those discussions with those
Okay.
3 parks.
Yeah.
And I just want to clarify
Yes.
that with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so we all if
sort-
your
All
name, if your name isn't on
Okay.
here, you're still on the hook for it, as we move forward.
that's fine. That's fine
Yeah,
with me.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Okay,
All right.
I think it makes so much sense.
Rachel, would you like to be a part of the Casey?
Sign me up.
Okay, also, I would love to be a part of Northwood too. I have this very big dream for that park, so I'd love to work with you on that. Yeah, exactly. My pen doesn't work, but that's okay. Thanks. Okay, Ingrid, are you okay with Silver and Dorothy?
Yes, yeah. Silver for sure, that I'd always like to be, I live a block off it.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah, for sure. And then Dorothy makes sense.
You're right.
It's close and I can check in on it now and then and, yeah, I'm cool with both of those.
Okay. And Dave, you're good with yours?
Yes.
Okay.
I still have Rotary open though, right?
So
Rotary
Rotary,
is not ours.
Oh, I
Yeah,
thought Veterans was not ours.
both, actually.
Either
Same.
one.
Okay, okay,
yeah.
all right.
Okay, Sarah, do you want us to give you just like a quick list of changes?
I think I have them written down. So the
Okay.
only ones I have, just to recap, Northwood, Rachel and Laura.
Yep,
And then Rachel, you're being Tower and then added to Casey.
yep,
That's the only changes?
perfect.
Awesome. I'll send that list back out too.
Okay,
So everybody has it.
okay, do we feel good about moving on to the next topic? Okay, great. Okay, so the next topic is the discussion on Park and Rec Commission meetings in the park. Sarah, do you want to provide the oversight on that, and then we can chat a little bit about the other stuff we talked about?
Sure, absolutely. So from last month's meeting, it was brought up that maybe we want to bring some of our park commission meetings back into the parks to have more interaction with the community and get more community engagement and help guide improvements or decisions moving forward. I spoke with our city manager, Brian Frandl. He was absolutely okay with it being moved into the parks. And then I did share with the commission today, which I think Laura will touch on too, some feedback we got from a person from the public about accessibility and issues there in relation to having meetings in the park. And Laura developed a good response that I think we can send back to them as well. But I'll hand it off to you.
So basically, the key points of the feedback from the public is accessibility is not just physical accessibility to the place. It's making sure you're providing like auditory accessibility, that there's parking, that the resources are all there. They want to make sure that we are fully thinking it through. And so I put together just kind of like, we heard what you're saying. These are like in summary what we were thinking. And so the key points were selecting locations that are physically accessible, including pathways and seating, providing auxiliary aids or services as requested in line with ADA guidelines, ensuring the meeting materials are available in alternate formats upon request, and if specific accommodations are needed, we encourage attendees to reach out in advance so we can make necessary arrangements. Just as a like, we hear you, thank you for providing feedback, and these are the lenses that we're gonna look into going forward. Sarah and I chatted about maybe what the auditory piece of it would look like in the parks, and teachers in classrooms and even in like churches, they'll wear like the microphone here, and then people can have a set of headphones that amplifies it just in hand. Sarah's gonna check to see if the city might have something like that already, but that would take care of the auditory support that we were maybe concerned about or not addressing specifically, and that, like, in summary, that would allow us to be ADA compliant in the parks.
Would we be recording in the parks as
Yes,
well?
yes.
You have to.
Yep, and so Sarah,
Tried to subtitles that.
yep, and Sarah requested that if and when we meet in the parks, the meeting itself takes place in a park building, because she needs to be able to take a clear recording and take really good notes. And so that seems like a reasonable request.
I think that's a very good response. I think it addresses the concern, it addresses the ADA compliance. A plus.
Perfect.
Just limits our locations.
It does,
too.
because, yeah,
Yes.
Casey and Housie.
Yep, and I feel like we're kind of like, we gotta bridge the gap, right? Like, we want to be able to go out into the parks and have those meetings. Our formal meetings can happen at Casey and Housie in those buildings. Our informal community check-ins can happen at our events that are taking place in the parks.
So would it be possible, because we wouldn't have to do this every month, would it be possible, without having cameras and stuff all set up, to have like an informal meeting to meet with people at the various parks? So that way we kind of understand where people are coming at, because we want to make sure that we're complying with the ADA. And I know with some of the stuff we do, the fire department does have portable speakers and stuff that I'm sure we could use if we schedule something ahead of time, and have Public Works set that up. But yeah, I think what we used to do back in the days when we met at the parks, we'd hear from the people who were using those parks more, because we would announce it, like a month ahead of time,
Yeah,
that
but
we were
we-
gonna meet.
We're not able to do that anymore because
I-
of the specific accommodations that we need to make.
That's why I'm asking if it was like a special meeting where it's not a formal park and rec meeting, is that doable?
Are we allowed to
That's
all
my
four show
question.
up at Northwood and talk about, I feel like there's not, we're not really allowed because that's a meeting.
Correct.
That's,
Right.
and
Yep.
there's no such thing as really an unofficial meeting of all of us. How we addressed this before is that we would go in smaller groups, like 2 or 3. And we would just say, okay, between now and next month, can we make sure to visit all of the, can everyone visit all of the parks?
Right.
Or we had our assignments, just to kind of like check in. I love touching base, because even though I've been on the Parks Commission for a long time, it's been a long time since a couple of years now since I've looked at Northwood. And actually going to the park is inspiring and also motivating, because you go, oh, that park structure is holding up well, or, uh-oh, we put that in 5 years ago and look at, this is already falling apart. It's just incredibly informative and motivating to get out there in the park, but I don't think we can do it as a full group. I don't think that's allowed. But we could organize and break up into groups of 2 and, go visit parks that way, or just do it individually.
There also is the great opportunity where if you time your visit outside of this, when people are using the park already, like you just walk up and you say, hey, I'm on the Parks Commission,
Yeah.
you're here using it, tell me what you think.
Yeah.
Like that solves that
Yeah,
problem.
yeah.
And it doesn't have to be like a formally organized thing. And then we also can check in at our events that we're doing. And then on top of that, we're having the formal meetings at Housey and Casey this summer. And that's like a pretty tiered approach of like how we can meet the community needs. So I think if we focus on those 3 things, that will get us back to at least like a good foundation of having an understanding of what people are looking for.
Is there anything on the website that allows people to, register a
feedback.
complaint or feedback or something about their park, or?
Not
or is it
specific to
just-
the parks, but that's certainly something we can do, if that's,
Wouldn't
we'd
hurt
like.
us to have that avenue as well, for people to just be able to kind of go, gosh, I have an issue, with this swing broke, and,
Yep.
or I'm worried about this park structure or something. They can, rather than go to the city website and then have that bit of information kind of float around for a while and then get to us, maybe we look at that once a month and see if we have any feedback from the public.
That's a good idea. Is that something we could fold in?
absolutely.
Okay, great. I feel like you kind of do that, like you'll get a random email or whatever and you send it on to us, but like if we formalize a process of, hey, you can't make it to the meeting or whatever, send us your notes. Absolutely. Okay,
Yeah, thank
great. Okay. We feel good?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you like a summary or do you feel?
Do we want to have dates? Like, are there specific days we are looking at to be at Casey or Housey this year? So I can go ahead and start planning that. Yep.
My suggestion would be June and July.
Yeah,
Because of our daylight hours.
Or July, August?
Well, August gets darker
Or it's
earlier.
August, it's
Yeah, it starts
to.
to.
Concerts earlier.
Yeah.
So June in Housey,
June.
July at Casey? Sure.
Yeah. Sound good? Okay. I like it.
Okay.
So just to touch back on the for the website and stuff. Is there a way to set that up? So let's say if there was a concern at Silver Lake, Ingrid would get that so she could look into it more, being that is her park? Or something for Southwood I would get, or Lloyd would get?
I can certainly make that a habit if we want that to be for me to forward it on. There's not a way for it to directly go to you, but I can certainly filter it as needed.
Yeah, I would say the easier, or the broader the category, the better. So like, it's an email that comes to Park and Rec, but Sarah, knowing that I'm the rep for Silver Lake, would then say, oh, she would bring that to my attention.
Right. that's
So
what I
yeah,
mean.
just our own process, not a way for someone to directly
Right.
email me or whatever.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I can do that.
And if that process somehow becomes extremely overwhelming due to the capacity of feedback we're receiving, we can look at making it maybe like a more formal whatever. But it sounds like it's a small part of communication
Baby
that you're
steps.
receiving.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
too bad.
perfect,
steps.
perfect. Okay, our next item is discussion of posting and opening for a student commissioner position for our park commission. So I'm not sure if you all are familiar, but the Arts Commission has, if not one, two, they have one student commissioner from the local high school.
Cool.
Who sits on the commission and is a voting member?
Nope.
Not a voting member, but an opportunity to learn about what this process looks like, provide like super important feedback, and insight that maybe we don't have and aren't getting on a regular basis. I feel like it's a super valuable resource, and so I wanted to bring it to the group to see if they would be open to having a student commissioner on the commission.
Love it.
I like the
Yeah.
idea.
I fully support that. We
Okay.
can get a young person's opinion. It's good volunteer experience for them, leadership experience for them, get them into local government. It's kind of hard to find good resume builders.
Yep.
when you're in high school.
Yep.
I think they'll be
Yeah.
perfect for job and school
Yeah.
applications as well.
For sure.
I also want, I want a daycare provider bit of feedback. I've always said that the pros who know the most about what our parks need
Yeah.
are kids.
Yep.
They're the first, they know. And then daycare providers who are in the parks with groups of kids and can kind of really get, and the reason I think about it is because my neighbor across the street was a daycare provider for many years. And, I'd be going off to my Park and Rec Commission meetings, and I'm thinking, I should just bring you along as an expert each
Yeah.
time. Because she would have, she had lots of advice on park. They're the ones who are the most informed about what kids love to do in parks.
Yeah.
I would say at that point, there probably should be a commission member. I mean, I think that.
Yeah, they
Heather was
should,
here,
yeah.
but, like, so probably not
Yeah.
like a liaison.
Yeah,
to
no, I just meant
the-
it would be nice
Do
if,
you know anybody?
yeah, but I do love the student idea
I do
too.
too.
I
Student
was
commissioner.
thinking, like you were saying, if we could do some sort of like feedback form or survey and send it to targeted people, students, teachers, daycare providers to get feedback, I think we'll have really good reception.
Yep. And I think that's something we've done previously, and I think it's gonna be a part of what we continue to do with HGA.
Yeah.
So maybe we can loop it into that and just make sure we're hitting specific subgroups that we
Yeah.
think are high users, because that feedback would, yeah, absolutely be super valuable.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So we are okay bringing on a student commission, one or two.
Do we make a motion for that?
No, we don't need to make a motion. I can get that posted. Do we want to do one or two? Do we want to start with one, see how it is going, and then open it up again?
My inclination is two, because it's super intimidating as a high schooler to come and sit in this space as one person.
Yeah.
Even as like a very, like, highly qualified high school student, it's a lot. It's a lot to be up here as an adult. So
Yeah.
Okay,
if we're open to it, if we could do two and
Okay.
see what happens.
okay.
Where would they sit?
That's,
I know,
Somebody out there
we
like-
might have to have them here, yes.
That was my first.
yeah, I know, me too. As
Like,
soon
we
as she said-
gonna squeeze them in?
And then what that will look like, we'll post it, and then Laura, I'd be in touch with you. You and I would probably do interviews.
Okay.
We'd have to come back to the commission. Everybody would approve their resume and what we suggest, and then it would go to council, just like a commissioner would. So it would take a little bit, but we can
Perfect.
start.
Will this be
train.
posted at the high school?
Yeah, so we'll post it online, and then we'll push it through, I can send it out to all of you too, so you can promote it as well. We'll push it through our contacts at the high school as well. See what we can do.
Sounds perfect. Okay, our next item, reports from staff. We have a budget update.
Yes, so from Laura, your request to have budget information provided each month. This is what I got from finance. I am not a person that can read these. So,
okay.
especially when I'm not feeling 100%, it's hard for me to read them, but the numbers are here. So there's both our park dedication fund information as well as park fund information. It's not 100%, the numbers aren't 100% set because we're still in audit, so some of the books are open from last year. But if this is something we want to see, or if we want to see different numbers, I don't know how we want to see that each month, I'm happy to provide what we want. But this is what I got for this month.
What is the most streamlined method for you, and maybe the easiest to digest for us? Is there a marriage of those two ideas? Like, what's the most streamlined for you? Just providing these?
Yes, but I can also try to get more clarity on exactly what numbers we care about in this.
Sarah, don't you remember that we've been through different forms of this in the past? I feel like there was one finance person who came to us with one page that really made a lot of sense. When I look at these pages, I'm like, well, there's too much on there. You know.
For them to break it out of there, because this is like a system they're using, but, I mean, basically, you can just look at the total assets.
On the bottom,
Yeah, I know.
we have 1.1 million.
Yeah.
Nice.
Is that?
That's nice.
But my question though is that more than we had last year? Is that enough to do what we want to do this year?
We're rich.
Yeah, that's a lot.
We're
Okay,
rich,
That's
yeah.
a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
We need to do something with it, is
Yeah.
what the moral of that is.
Well, how much do we owe on Casey yet?
I don't know the answer to that. It was supposed to be 10 years. That's that argument I got into last year, uncover a big bubble. So we built it in 2016, 10 years. Technically, it should be paid off by, let's just call it 2027.
Yeah, because that was the last project I was involved with. And you were on board at that time. But I think we got to be getting really close with that project being completed, paid for.
That's something that we can get. So I
Yeah,
think
we-
that's like the
They were
one
looking into
piece.
that, and they did get an answer, because he came back to me and told me. I just don't remember, because my memory's shot.
So, yeah. Okay, so yes, roughly we have 1.1 million, and that is a lot of money that we should start doing stuff with. In the same breath being said, we were asked to not spend until our planning was more formalized. We could not have a more formalized plan than what we do now. So going forward, after our plan and stuff is approved at council and our park improvement plan was already approved, those are our two guiding documents that we can move forward on and start doing stuff.
But we're not using our budget, this budget for the HGA 3 park.
Some of it will.
We will,
Potentially, yeah.
yeah.
Potentially, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And I apologize if this question I'm not trying to offend you. Are you familiar with the difference between the park dedication fund and the park fund? Okay, so when you build a new building in a city, you have to give a certain amount of money to maintain or create a new green space. And that is our park dedication funding.
To create the green space. for
To-
the building.
It's like
Yeah.
a certain percentage, yeah.
Yep, it's a certain percentage, and it can only be used to make something new, essentially, right?
So
Yes.
Yeah,
it's additional green space.
yes.
Yeah, if
So-
you build a building to house like 400 people, the goal is like, now you gotta give them some outdoor space to use. And a lot of these buildings, rather than spend the funds themselves to build a playground or a park or a dog park or something, they just give that percentage to the city and that goes into a separate bank account for us.
Yep. And so
For instance,
then,
like Third Street, that park would be out of here.
and then the park fund is the money from the general budget of the city that is earmarked into parks.
But we can use both of them.
We can use both of them, but for park funding, you can't use it to maintain a current park. That's the catch. Is like, we can't.
Dedication?
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, the dedication one, you can't be like, oh, I'm gonna,
Dedication is new only.
yes,
Right.
yep. So those are the two differences.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, and, yeah, I just asked that we get the budget just in front of us every month again. It was something that was super helpful in the past, and I think just going forward, knowing how much money we have is,
It'll kick us in the butt. So-
yeah, exactly,
We got it, let's use it.
exactly.
So, in speaking of budget, this was gonna be my question all along, this feels more appropriate here. Can we, since our park plan was approved, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
The Park and Open Space Master Plan has not been.
Oh, it hasn't?
Nope, it goes on March 18th. So they,
What was the meeting we came to speak at, like back in like December?
that was it, but they had asked for more information. They wanted us to include the park improvement plan in that, basically get rid of the park improvement plan and combine it all into one document. So we have to wait for HGA's thing to get approved first, because that's part of the Park
Right.
and Open
Okay.
Space Master Plan. Then it'll
So,
go.
ideal world, let's say it gets approved on the 18th. Have we already discussed, sorry, I wasn't here in January, but have we discussed then that March meeting, like we can start talking about where to spend some of this money based on the plan we laid out and the timeline? Like, can we?
I don't think we've said that, but I think we can say that here.
I want to because it's spring
Yeah.
and so nothing's getting done this summer anyways, probably at this point with bids and everything.
Yeah.
So I would like to, hopefully it's approved. If not, I still think we can have the conversation.
Yeah.
To take a look at, and maybe Sarah, you could help us with maybe just that list of the 5-year, 3-year, 1-year, you know, that page that we had. that
Yep.
was like kind of and then talk through the priorities. And I know we've already talked about what we want at our park, so you probably have that in the back of your head, but just putting us to a task to say, well, we said this was 1 year. And then also, we should have a better understanding with the HGA and what we hear from council next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Kind of what kind of money we need to spend from the park board, and then I'm hoping maybe we can have a discussion with council to say, is this like a Casey Lake thing where we're gonna have to bond some of this? And, or maybe we take 50,000 out of our account every year to help fund McKnight, or whatever we do.
Right.
Just so that we can look at that in tandem, because I don't think we can just say, we want to plan all these parks, and then we've got this $1 million project sitting over
Yep.
here. So,
And that's part of the goal, or what I'm hoping, excuse me, will be the overview, our like this on the last episode portion of our meeting will be exactly what you're talking about. This is our 1, 3, 5-year plan. This is what we've done. This is what we haven't done. And that's like where we ground ourselves every single meeting.
yeah. I would just love at that March meeting to start at least picking off some of those projects that aren't the $500,000 projects. We've got some $5,000 projects in there that we could,
Yep.
we could tackle really easy and start working on, and maybe even get things done this year. That could be cool.
Yep.
Let's start spending some of this.
Absolutely. So after all of those things are approved and we have a meeting next month, we'll front load that in March. Our plan is to start making decisions around actually spending the smaller chunks of money that we can check off the list.
So my question is, on March 4th, there'll be a few of us going in front of the city council to endorse the HGA proposals. We're not gonna get any feedback from them until, probably 2 months.
Well, they've seen these plans, so they're not,
But they haven't seen the price tags.
yeah.
They have,
They have.
Oh, they
and
have.
they're a little, I'll give you a heads up, they're a little shocked by it. So it's not gonna be an easy sell. I'll just say that.
So then we'll have to say, we may have to say, well, let's put this park on hold for 5 years and then move forward with these parks. So we have to be willing to say, probably by April, which one, if nothing else, which parks we would really want to push for to start spending some decent money.
I think we'll
improvements.
have more answers than you think on Tuesday. I don't think it's gonna be like, sign off, go run with this. But I think they are aware of it, which means they've been having their own thoughts on how to either fund it or what they think is worth it or not worth it. The reality is, if we wait 5 more years, it's gonna cost 5 times as much.
Oh,
So-
I get it. We wait another year, it's
So-
gonna cost. Look how much eggs cost. Come on.
So I think we'll have some answers out of that, at least enough to frame a conversation at the end of the month.
Yeah, well, and we have the February meeting, so,
This is the February.
oh my God.
We always,
literally thought it was
we're
January.
just good enough,
That's all right.
Laura, we're just good enough.
But I want to make sure that the commission here is ready to go to bat on certain parks that we've seen that HGA has come. There's a couple of them still have a couple of little design things. So those are, I want to make sure that if they say we need to put this on the back burner, you know, for another year or two, or,
That was, I mean, we had discussed that day, I don't know if you were in that meeting, but we had discussed that as a rollout plan with the HGA thing. It's like, we were never gonna be able to fund all 3 of them at the same time.
Right.
The importance was McKnight, that is the biggest importance, and then we get to those secondary parks.
I also think that it's important that we don't go too far into hypothetical right now because we don't have all of the information. We have a lot of information and we do need some more from council. And I think we should just pause where we're at in regards to this because it feels like we have a shared understanding. And then in our March meeting, which is next month, we can have a conversation with as much information as we can.
Cool.
Okay, perfect. So, let's see. Now we are going to move on to reports from
Well,
commissioners.
I do have one more thing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't add it in here because I just got the information. So we have scheduled a park cleanup day for May 17th.
Oh, good to know.
And the reason that date was chosen is to kind of create a cleanup month. So the first weekend in May is going to be the citywide garage sale. Second weekend is a citywide cleanup day where you can bring your stuff to Public Works to get rid of. And then it'll be the park cleanup the third weekend. So, and that week also we'll see the high school doing their cleanup around the city as well. So we've been in touch with them also. So the Silver Lake Association is happy to also host theirs on May
On
17th.
that day.
So it's kind of all coming together in one great month.
Great.
We're looking at doing it from 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. So that we can schedule Public Works to come around after that to pick up the garbage bags. I will not be in the country that day, so the day before that, and we could talk about this in coming months too, if we don't want to spend time on it today, but at the, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I will never, the second February meeting.
yes.
Too good, sorry.
That was awesome. I will have bags and gloves and all of that brought to City Hall so they can be picked up by you guys for whatever parks you want to work on. I think we need to focus on a few parks, that'd be my suggestion. Just so that we have a concentrated effort at a few parks, and we can do another cleanup later in the year too, if we want to rotate what parks we're working on. But that would be how I can help anyway, is have stuff ready on Friday before, for you guys to pick up, so.
thank you.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Okay. Thank you. All right, let's do the reports from commissioners and park liaisons. Let's just go down the line. I will say quickly just about this. So this, in my history, has been more informal, just kind of like what's front and center, front of mind. I think, Dave, for you, it's more formal, like you have like a routine of what you go through in like park inspection and stuff like that? Or just like a general, like I walked through this and I saw boop, 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 boop? So my question was gonna be, like, do we as a group want to formalize our expectations more around like what we're reporting on from the parks, specific stuff? Or is it just, we're fine with however in-depth or high level people want it to be?
What would formalizing it look like? Like
Just, so,
a checklist?
it could be a checklist, or it's like, you specifically went to Northwood Park, you walked the whole park, you checked for graffiti, you checked for any like rogue things that could hurt children playing that you couldn't just deal with yourself. and then like bring it back, and you do that for each one of your parks.
I feel like we don't need it to be
Yep.
formal, would be my thought.
Yeah.
That's totally fine, I just wanted to ask the question.
It really has been, is there anything of concern in your park
Yep.
that you want to talk about? That's kind of it's not like, let me give you an overview of how the park is doing.
Right.
It's more like, these are my concerns. There's a broken thing over here, yeah.
I think that sounds good.
Let's
We
keep it
have
informal.
newish commissioners, so I just want, like, I don't know if we ever made that expectation clear, so,
Yeah.
if we just frame it with the, like, what did you say? What,
Issues, any
Issues,
kind of
concerns.
issues and concerns
okay, perfect.
that
And
are cropping up.
Can I ask, because I know this is usually the moment where we go and we kind of report our park, can there be a section within this commissioner report that's like discussion topics of like, I always feel like that's a hard place for us to be like, actually, I want to bring this up, but where's a good place to do that when it's maybe not related to my specific park?
Yeah, I agree. I know sometimes that can happen, like, you have that idea that you want to bring to the meeting ahead of time. Do you feel like you would have it ahead of time enough to turn it into an agenda item for Sarah?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Like one of my topics tonight, yes, I probably could have sent that to her. The other one popped up as we were talking about things.
Okay.
So that would just be like, I don't want to derail the conversation 30 minutes, but just, I don't know, because it's like when it's not necessarily like, I don't have something to bring up about my specific park, but about the park's programs in general, like I wanted to like ask a question or like get some thoughts. So
I like a discussion period time, and then if there's something that needs to be
maybe we
discussed
cap the
further-
time so people don't go
Yeah.
on a tangent and it takes
Yeah.
40 minutes.
So I did ask the question about time capping, and the city went back and forth on it. They don't like the idea of capping people's
Right.
time, but
Our commissioner time?
like so if I was like, Ingrid, you have
Public.
2 minutes
Oh,
to
yeah.
tell me what you think about your parks, they don't like that. They don't feel like it's
Okay.
fair. And so I agree that we want it to be concise. And
Recap, sorry.
no, it's okay. It's okay. So my first question is, can we add like a whole nother bullet point to this?
Could we put it right after when we meet with the public? We have an open forum for the public to address us. Maybe right after that, we have like an open forum from this commission to bring it up?
My only question is, that hasn't allowed us to talk about the other things yet, which sometimes spark,
Yeah.
like what Sarah was talking about, the additional conversation that they want to bring up.
I like it at the end.
I like it next to the issue, the reports from the commissioners.
But
Yeah.
maybe it's separate, like let people get through their
Yeah,
parks so
sure.
that I don't, because I'm the
Yeah.
one who's gonna do it, is gonna
Sure.
derail on a topic when I don't get through my parks, so.
Well, I can make a suggestion. So when I was on the Arts Commission, every month they had a spot that was updates from subcommittees. And they would just discuss what's going on in their subcommittees.
Oh, yeah.
We can have that as an item under commission business, action items and recommendations, like at the very end of all of our discussions there.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a subcommittee thing I wanted to ask
No,
about,
but it can be a discussion, park discussion can be a permanent thing
Yeah.
in our
Sure.
agenda there.
Could we cap that part of the agenda, not a particular?
Cause like how the public forums, like what, 15 minutes
You
or
have 3
something?
minutes, or, yeah.
Like, that's where I'd say like cap it that way in case one of us is
Maybe-
off rails.
Maybe, okay, maybe what our agreement is that we are not formally capping people with timeframes, but we are informally asking our friends to not talk for more than 3 minutes, and maybe one of us will watch the clock as that's happening and give a gentle reminder that time is running long.
I feel like we should start the discussion session with that reminder.
Yeah, yeah. So are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, so our agreement will be, we will have 2 opportunities to talk about parks in general. The first is gonna be like a parks discussion or subcommittee, us as individuals identifying as a subcommittee, sharing out that information. And then the other is an opportunity to share issues and concerns. So that will allow for 2 different pieces, and then the parks discussion will be an informal 3-ish minutes of discussion. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, perfect. So since we can't go back in time, we'll do issues and concerns first. I'll just go down the line, Sarah to Rachel, and then we'll come back and we'll do the discussion piece at the end, go down the line, and then we can wrap up.
Cool. No concerns or issues from my parks.
Me either.
I'll continue to report like I have in the past. Public Works has been out and done more ash borer removal in Southwood. They still have a few piles from the storm damage that are laying out by a couple of the paths. They still have to do more work on a lot of the storm damage. Other than that, everything at Southwood is pretty much clear. There's only like 5% ice on one of the trails, and other than that, everything's looking good. As far as McKnight Fields, everything, of course, until this agenda gets moved forward from HGA, is on hold. I do know the city has really got a huge stockpile of ash trees there, so hopefully Excel will open up and get rid of some of that. So that's all I have to
Use
report.
those to make mulch?
No, because it's the ash borer.
Oh, ash borer, got it. Yep.
But at Southwood, if you walk through there recently, I mean, some of the trails are a little muddy and stuff, but there is a lot of storm damaged trees that could be used as mulch for the trails. So, Sarah and I have a request out to Public Works on maybe something we can do out there, so, and I'll wait to hear back from that, but, and like I said, as long as we're not hearing from the task force, which I really would like to, if you want to reach out to those people. And like I said, I know Daryl's getting better, but he's not 100%, so at least if they can get some of that through the liaisons, either me or Lloyd, so we can start moving forward with some of their projects, so we know how much Ramsey County is doing and stuff like that, so. But other than that, that's all I've got to report, so.
I have no concerns about Silver Lake or Dorothy.
Okay.
I noticed drainage issues with both Northwood and Tower Park. Most substantially Tower Park, but there's a lot of spots with standing water, and this was before all the snow had melted.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah. Cause I'm sure as the snow's melting, you're gonna get piles, but this was before all the snow was melted, like everywhere was still covered in snow. But there
Okay.
was spots of standing water. There were a couple electrical concerns I had. I took photos. Do I email them to you?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
I don't know if they're an issue or not.
Okay.
But I figured I would bring them
Sure.
to you. No graffiti or anything. I thought both of the actual park playground structures looked great. That's it.
Great, thank you. All right, so this is our gentle reminder that we're going to talk about parks, general discussion items, and we'd like you to ideally talk for 3-ish or less minutes.
Perfect. First one's quick. When do the pickleball nets go up back at Housey?
I don't know that, but I can certainly follow
I
up.
would love to play this weekend, but drove by last weekend because I wanted to play, because I was like, it's nice out, I'm gonna go try to play because I haven't got to use them yet, and I'm like, oh wait, there's no nets. Then it got me thinking, like, when do those go up? So
Sure.
I just wonder if you guys have a set date, or if it's like you just ask Public Works, because I think with the weather getting nicer, it would be nice to be able, because I think those would get used right now.
Basketball
Yeah.
nets too.
Okay,
Can
yep,
I add to that?
yeah.
Perfect.
Just, I mean, we may get some rain or snow, but I don't think it's gonna stick too long with the weather, so.
Okay.
Still my 3 minutes, Dave. Hold on. And then my other big concern was after the Fire and Ice event, which I know kind of came on quick and steadily, it really got me thinking about, because I was there, Rachel was there, but it was basically just park commissioners and then like 2 other people. And I felt so bad because the event was really beautiful and done well. And I wasn't at the January meeting, so I know I didn't get because you guys talked about it there, but it feels like if we're gonna do, and I know we have a new person that kind of plans these events, but if we're gonna do events, to have enough notice on our side to be able to just help liaison some of that information. Like, I run the Janie's Facebook page, and like, I was shocked. I'm like, we're having this event. Like, I shared it like 2 days before. I'm like, I kind of felt like an idiot, honestly, because people were like, shouldn't you know about this? And I'm like, I feel like I should. I would like some notice. Like, I know there was a lot of exceptions this year with people coming and going, but I just think as a general rule, like, we should at least have some like 6-month visibility to these planning events so that we can help share the information or volunteer or help or plan schedules around it. That was all I had to say about that, so.
And I do want to say, yes, at last meeting too, was that last meeting that Ava was there? I'm sorry, my memory, I don't feel great.
The February meeting.
Yes, the first February meeting. She did bring the whole year worth, so hopefully that can help moving forward. And she did reach out asking for people to commit to volunteering at certain events as well. Fire and Ice did sneak up there because it was like our meeting and then like the week after
Could you
was
resend
that.
that list, because I didn't see it in
Yes.
the notes, but just, that would be
Yes.
helpful since I wasn't at that meeting, but,
Yeah, it's an
that
email,
one was just really.
email from,
Ava.
pardon?
Ava sent the
Ava,
email.
yeah,
Yep.
Ava Agreement.
That's
Yep.
what I had, and let me know if they do put them out by this weekend, so just
Okay,
for other people. as
perfect.
15 seconds to spare. Great job. I don't have any discussion items, but I did want to say that for our overview of the parks, I'm going to add the events, the upcoming events, like for 3 months out, to be a part of our meeting, so that that's front and center too.
Yeah, I like that.
When you say overview,
On the last episode, which apparently is what I'm calling it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the last episode, we'll include the 1, 3, 5-year plan, a budget overview, event plan. Oh, no, budget is not a part of it, and, event plans. So that's a part of what we're talking about. Dave?
I was just gonna say, as taking care of tennis nets and stuff for 25 years, we usually don't put any of those nets up until the end of March, just so you know.
But weather's changing.
Yeah, but March, they could have 3 feet of snow.
We appreciate the insight.
I'm just saying.
Yep.
Can they
Yeah.
come down pretty quickly?
Depends on the style. There's a couple different styles. One style, yeah, it takes roughly 25 minutes to a half an hour to put one net up. So,
I mean, yeah, I think that's good to know. But
Yeah, I'll find out either way.
yeah.
Sounds
we
perfect.
send
just
it out.
paid a lot of money for it, and I'd rather take them down for like one big snowstorm in April or something than not have people use them for a couple months when we could.
Okay. Anything else?
I just wanted to let her know, just because the weather was nice for a couple of days. It was freezing a week ago, so, I mean, some guys want to go out and do some golfing. Not me, but,
But there are nets at other, like, I saw Maplewood has their nets up. I drove past some other ones, there was somewhere else too that they had their nets up, so. I mean, we can't, maybe they don't take them down, but,
maybe they don't take them down. But then, when they go to use them, they're rotted, so.
yeah.
TBD on the nets. TBD on the nets. Excellent. Great.
I had a couple concerns about, when I looked at the event list and was signing up for the ones I wanted to do, I emailed Ava right away and just said, I see that this 5K is happening on a Tuesday or a Thursday. It was a weekday, and I just offered my advice on probably moving that to a weekend, that you'll get a better turnout, whatever. There was another one that I had a question on, but I emailed her directly, so. So there are a few of those events, Sarah, when you get the list, you might see that some of them are TBD, they will be determined, but a couple might change based on a little bit of feedback, so that's all.
a couple things. I think we need to somehow advertise our events better. I feel like we're not actually communicating with the public. I don't know how we can reach them. I don't know if we should do like a quarterly flyer in the utility bill saying like, go to the website for our events, or here's a QR code with a list of our events or something. But I feel like we're not reaching the public on these events, and I feel like we should look into that and try some different things to see if we could get more reception. Because we have really cool events, and I think people would really like to go to them, but they're not hearing about them.
Love the idea.
I think it would be a really cool idea if is anyone familiar with the Minnesota State Parks Hiking Club?
Like where you get a badge for going to, yeah.
So at the state parks, you can join the hiking club for the state, and you go to the different parks, and they have a designated hiking route, and you hike this route, and there's a password, and then
Yes,
as you
yeah.
get the different parks, you get different prizes. They also have a park passport, so you just go to the park, and then like when you arrive at the park, there's a sign or whatever, you get a stamp. I think that would be an excellent way to encourage people to visit all of our parks.
yeah.
And I think that'd be a really cool program. We could do it either catered for children, catered for adults, do a summer program, what have you. But I think that's a really cool idea. I would like to do that.
Love that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Actually, you keep going, I'm gonna say yours.
I don't know how to proceed in doing that, so feel free to discuss or talk or whatever.
Well, something that we've seen is a massive, what I would call it, like economic and cultural development within like outdoor sports is something called like Run Club. You're familiar with what a Run Club is, like people meet up, they get together and run. Like when you were saying that, the first thing I thought you were gonna say is like a hike club or something. And maybe it's a way of formalizing like meetup groups of like either walking or hiking through our parks. So maybe maybe we could organize it on a set date, like, hey, hike club is meeting Saturday, whatever.
I love that.
And the other thing we're seeing is it's actually one of the biggest shifters, this is funny, but biggest shifters of dating. People are getting.
Really?
This has just been a massive study we did at Target, so just interesting information, but like people are shifting to wanting to meet in person.
Oh.
And there's a dating element to it, but there's also like an elderly component of people wanting to get out and meet people. So there's like these couple different factors, moms trying to get together, meet other moms in the community. So there's different ways you could segment it, that people are just really itching to meet people in person and be less on the digital forum with what's going on in the world right now. So maybe there's a way to comprise it with like getting people together. That will spread the news of events, get more people involved in the city. And then you could give them the passport or whatever, like, because I do feel like a passport thing would be hard, or a stamp, unless someone's physically there to give it to them. But I love it.
Well, you can always have a photo and bring it to City Hall and get a stamp from somebody at the desk at City Hall. Like there are ways that you could put you could say, document your visit in some way.
Like email a selfie
take
with the
yeah,
sign or something.
yeah,
or,
yeah.
But the parks have it where they just have stamps out on the building and then you take it and do it. But I had ideas for like specific themed walks too, like a foraging walk or like
Love
a
that.
full moon walk or like.
So I would, two things. One, suggest that the local community ed department would love to partner on helping set those events up in the parks. And the community ed department is already restarting Polar Explorers, which is a kids' summer passport event in the parks. 5 different events at 5 different parks. Each event, they get a punch on their passport, and there's a free activity to do. And then at the end, they turn it in, and they get a Polar Explorers hat for free.
Love.
So.
Similar to that.
Yes, so, and that's already happening this summer. So if you wanted to look at adding like an adult element to that in some way, or you want to see how that works, or you want to like use that as a pilot, it's already happening. And so we could build off of that model.
And when you say community ed, that's the North St. Paul, Maplewood, Oakdale community ed?
Yes, the youth programs coordinator's name is Laura Greenlee Karp. So if you wanted to connect with her, she might be able to help you. Yeah, she might be able to help you with that, and she could also connect you to the adult enrichment coordinator, who would love to be a part of that too.
Yes.
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah. So we can get you connected with those people. Yeah.
Doesn't some of this fall under Ava's stuff?
Not necessarily, not if it's gonna be like if it's a casual thing, it doesn't have to be with the city. Yep.
Obviously, we would clue Ava in because she would be a partner in all of the stuff that we're doing. But she also is extremely open to ideas and has told me herself that she wants to do like 8 million more things. She's just one person. So she's excited about new events and stuff, and people who are excited to bring us a partner as well.
It's exciting to have fresh ideas. That goes back, like, remember they used to have like fitness in the park that was like an outside club that would come
She's
to
got
Casey
that.
and do, I know.
Ava's
Like
doing
every
that.
Saturday, it was huge.
Ava's doing that
Oh, Ava's gonna
in
do
a couple different,
There's 3
yoga.
different ones, jazzercise, yoga, and pound.
She should,
yeah.
she should
Yeah.
get me. I'm a fitness instructor.
Yes.
There you go. We'll connect you, Sarah, fitness instructor, with Ava.
Pilates in the park.
Exactly. Okay. All right. If nobody else has anything to add to their discussion portion, we can,
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
You did it again.
any discussion? All those in favor?
Say.
Aye.
All those opposed? Meeting adjourned.